another edition of the Bull Headed Podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and P-Bush. How you guys doing?
Doing great, man. NFL right around the corner. Zoo and I have our fantasy draft this upcoming weekend, so I'm ready for it, man. Ready.
Yeah, yesterday had a little fantasy draft, so the schedule got a little flip-de-doo today. The body today was not ready for that, so feel a little woozy right now, man. Just a little, man. Just a little. The body of the Wednesday and Tuesdays got a little confused, man. But yeah, man, fantasy season's here. Got a couple more drafts this week. It's gonna be a long week this week, man, with a couple of leagues coming up.
Yes, sir. Like I say, fantasy is in full swing. We got a lot of people doing a lot of drafts. NFL is here. And like I said, with the first topic, we're definitely going to be NFL centric and kind of talk about some teams last year that you could say underachieved and did not make the playoffs. So I thought would be a good topic to see which teams in that non-playoff, I guess you could say, realm, could you see making a jump and actually making the playoffs? And P-Bush, I'm going to start with you.
This is tough, man, because I feel like there are a couple AFC teams that I think might take over. You know, like the Colts, I think, are going to make a little bit of a jump over the Titans this year, unless Malik Willis just goes God mode, and we've seen him make some pretty nice plays in the preseason.
Yes, he has
gotten on the field. But I'm actually going to go with an NFC team because I do think there's just a bit more leeway kind of at the bottom of that, you know, the top 7 in the conference. And that team is the New Orleans Saints, man. I know we talked about this last week, and I had to go back and look at this, but, you know, my Bucks pick out of the NFC, I still think it's feasible. You know, they're still a hell of a good team. Tom Brady, 45 years old. We'll see if this might be his last roundabout, but I'm eyeing the Saints, man. I think that, you know, they might not win the division, but I think a couple wild card spots are wide open. And you're looking at a team that kind of got screwed in their QB situation last year, you know, having Trevor Siemian come in, how they were using Taysom Hill at quarterback for a bit. And now they're getting their guy, Jameis Winston, back off of his injury. They're getting Michael Thomas back healthy. They just drafted Chris Olave, and Kamara might not even get a suspension. So that's 3 hella good weapons to give Jameis Winston, along with a stellar defense on the other side. You look at their division, you know, you got the Panthers in there too, Falcons. Not too impressed with either team. No. But yeah, I think that they have a legit shot at that 5, 6, 7 slot, you know, kind of competing up there with the 49ers, the Eagles, over there in the NFC. So yeah, man, I think that defense is kind of the consistency piece that I was looking for in one of the teams, kind of were that playoff upside. And I think the Saints have the best in the NFC.
Interesting team, man. They got a lot of weapons this year. Very, very interesting offensive weapons. But for me this year, man, going with Logola, Indy, man. The Indianapolis Colts, man.
Yeah,
they cooking a little, man.
Yep.
Matt Ryan's a professional quarterback. You compare him to Carson Wentz, who's a natural disaster. Matt Ryan's slow and steady, man. Like he's not the greatest, but you know he's up there, man. His production, we know his weaknesses, but his offensive efficiency, man, he's a great, accurate quarterback. He might not be able to move, man, but his accuracy and his leadership is top notch. Like Matt Ryan with this offense, man, I think you're going to help Michael Pittman take a step this year. I feel like this thing's one of the more talented teams. I feel like the division's one of the weaker divisions. You could take a chance against this Tennessee team that lost a bunch of weapons. Houston's obviously that situation right now. Davis Mills, second-year quarterback right now. Jacksonville Jaguars, I think they're going to take a step this year, but go from 3 wins, taking a step is 5 wins. So like legit, like the division is pretty god-awful.
Yeah.
It's pretty god-awful. And Tennessee last year, still surprised with winning 12 games, obviously winning the division and pretty much winning the conference. I don't think they're that good right now because with Ryan Tannehill, man, like he might lose his job.
Yeah.
Like based on the performance, this rookie, man, is a little Willis guy, a little running quarterback, a little Hurts action looking type of dude, not that accurate, but with a good legs and good speed, man. He might get replaced if they lose too many games because everybody knows Tannehill, man. He's a nice average quarterback, man, but his upside is limited, man. Like, and now he has less weapons. Like, who's he got to throw to? An injured Robert Woods?
Treylon Burks.
Yeah, Treylon Burks.
Rookie.
Like
He's coming in.
Losing A.J. Brown. Like, the offensive weapons are not there, and he's just not naturally a good passing quarterback. Like, he's a good athlete. He's a good running quarterback, but losing weapons and getting injured guys as replacement, I'm like, man, 12 wins last year. I'm still shocked they won 12 wins last year.
I know.
Derrick Henry, obviously,
that's
coming
exactly
back
why.
with his foot, like coming off that foot injury. Obviously, he made a miracle return quickly, but the dude's almost 30 years old. And as a running back, man, when you're late 20s, man, it's downhill from there.
Sure.
Like the dude looks like the Hulk, but I feel like he's gonna hit that RB wall. Maybe not this year, but definitely next year. So I feel like his timetable for getting it done, being a healthy running back, is over. So good luck, Tannehill, man. Good luck, Tannehill, with the injured Derrick Henry and bad weapons, because it's the Colts season to come back after that disgraceful ending of last season, man. But Matty Ice will get it done.
And Matt Ryan, I mean, he picked the perfect place to be an old quarterback, right? Great offensive line, great running game that you can rely on.
Yeah.
Good tight ends to throw to, especially in the red zone. And you got a pretty, I would say, a stud wide receiver one. You know, I think Pittman put up those numbers with Carson Wentz with the inconsistency last year. And now he's going to have a former MVP who should have a Super Bowl. I think we can all agree on that. If they did anything in the second half, that he should
just run the ball.
Champion. Yeah. Yep. But yeah, man, that's a good pick, Sue. I think the Colts is a good one. I also want to see your take on the Dolphins. I don't know if anybody thought about the Dolphins at all. That's another division that could be besides the Bills.
But it's because they played like I really want to see Tua throwing the ball down the field. I got to see it first. Like, if he can show that he can get the ball to Tyreek, then they become really enticing because they got two maybe number one receivers. I kind of like their tight end a little bit, and their defense, they have a really nice corner. They kind of have a solid defense, I would say. I'm not saying they would win that division, but they would be interesting. Patrick Mahomes can get the ball down the field and get it to Tyreek. Tua has shown a couple of passes and the little OTAs and all that stuff, whatever. But I don't know how consistent that's going to be. So I don't think I can pick the Dolphins. And plus, too, I'm not really the biggest Tua guy. I'm not a big Tua guy. I think he's okay. I don't think he's. If you tell me if they I think Brian Flores wanted Justin Herbert. I mean, if you told me Justin Herbert had those weapons, which he does have nice weapons with the Chargers, but if he had those weapons, I would be way more bullish on the Dolphins. But I was real close. They were, I think, maybe third for me. You guys took my other two picks, Saints. Another thing about the Saints, they beat the Bucks. They just beat them. They always beat them.
Their number. Yeah.
The Bucks have been, I guess, more been a beneficiary of just the playoffs, but they have Tom's number. So that wouldn't be shocking if they won that division. But for me, I would probably want to say the Vikings just because, and this goes against my Super Bowl pick, but it's they got to break through at one point. Kurt is an average quarterback, but he's going to look better like how Tannehill did with Derrick Henry. He got pushed up because of how good Derrick Henry was. I think Justin Jefferson is going to be that for him. And one could argue that they have a really, really maybe top 5 back in Dalvin Cook. So if you kind of add those two, if the tight end comes along, I guess maybe
Irv Smith Jr.
If he comes in a maybe, top 20, top 25 type guy, if he shows that potential, then that could be another weapon. Minnesota, they usually draft really well, so I'm not ever worried about their defense. They could be maybe a sleeper guy. Like you say, Aaron, this is a year you feel like you could maybe get him because he just doesn't have a legit weapon on the outside. He does have a great running game. He does have an all-pro type back. But and their defense is probably going to be pretty nasty. Green Bay's defense, I think, is going to be really good. But, Minnesota, we just all feel like they've been trending in the right direction. They do have a new coach. So maybe that new spark, I think what's his name, Kevin Sullivan? O'Connell, something like that.
Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, O'Connell. Maybe, they give him a different spark, that maybe makes them a factor in that division. But I was just kind of maybe trying to think out the box because it's there's no other teams. All the other teams that did make the playoffs that are high up there, I feel like they will make the playoffs this year.
I mean, the Ravens are they were
that's too easy.
Reasoning, right? That's too easy.
I can't. Really
a couple other notes I had. I felt like there was actually more teams that are dropping out of the playoffs in the AFC this year than in the NFC. I have the Titans, Steelers, Patriots, and possibly the Raiders all dropping out. I think that the Broncos are kind of that teetering pick as well. I don't think anybody just wants to predict the AFC West because they know it's just going to get jumbled by the end of the year. And one or two of the teams are going to get screwed out. It's really just going to depend on how those divisional games go. And man, that is a stacked division, as we've said multiple times. So I think that's probably also going to be something that flip-flops. Maybe the Raiders come out, Broncos are in the playoffs this year or something like that.
Yeah, I think in all those in the AFC predictions of how that's going to shape out, I just cannot see a scenario where Kansas City's not in the playoffs.
Right.
I could see
have them as a lock.
Yeah. And I picked the Chargers, so it's I can't see them out. So to me, it's going to be between the Broncos and the Raiders of who's going to get that third spot. or whatever. Like you say, I probably would trend more towards Denver, but we'll see. Like you say, we'll see with Denver because Russell isn't a new situation, so maybe it's not as seamless as we think it's going to be. And another team and really, this is probably I don't even know what the odds will be on it, but just because of the division, I guess it's the AFC South. Like you say, the uncertainty with Tennessee, Houston, Davis Mills is actually a decent quarterback.
Yeah, just young.
So he's all right.
Line.
You got Indianapolis with Matt Ryan. I guess you would presume they're going to be the favorite. But it's what if Trevor Lawrence is really effing good? Really, really freak. Plays like the number one pick. Then that makes Jacksonville, because their division is not death's row. It would be crazy if if he comes back in year 2 and is really, really good, then they could win that division. It wouldn't be crazy because it's he's got the number 1 overall pick. And they got Christian Kirk, what if Travis Etienne is
first round pick RBs, man. Usually they're productive immediately.
Yeah. So what if he comes back and is killing? So it's you got a nice back, you got a nice receiver in Christian Kirk. They traded their one other receiver to Carolina the other day. So yeah.
Lanisha Chenault.
Yeah, Chenault. Yeah, they traded him.
Chenault. Yep.
Yeah. So I was that was interesting, but maybe that may prove they got depth. Who knows? But if Trevor Lawrence plays, if he plays to his potential, maybe that division is not crazy. They could win it, but I still would bet Indianapolis. But who knows? But that's the only other one I could see, as a guy, a team that was at the bottom of the basement, which they were the number 1 team. Maybe they that could, because I don't think Detroit. No. Giants don't see it.
Don't say it. Don't say it. I already know.
Jets?
Bears aren't making it. Don't worry.
The Jets. I don't know, man. Just look good in this last game.
There's a lot of guaranteed, not tanking because this isn't the NBA, but they're kind of. Football's they're in one of those years, right? They're waiting for either a cap space opening, like the Bears are, right? They're just strapped for cash right now. Next year they'll have more opportunities, or maybe you don't have as many draft picks this year. You took Bears have both situations, but I think there's a lot of teams that are just always in that kind of in between or on the bottom tier. It's harder to move immediately year over year in the NFL unless you just have a god draft and draft some great guys in the 5th, 6th, and 7th round.
I will say, though, in the NFL, more than any other league, every team is set up. If you have a really good coach and you know what you're doing with your personnel, you can go 8-8. Yep. So it's not crazy. But, it's some teams that are every year. Yeah, Tomlin. And he's probably another case of that this year. He's probably going to go 8-8.
Yep.
Just because that's just what he does. So, which they're a very intriguing team. But
2 hours later.
Like I say, NFL is right around the corner. We're so excited to be getting NFL content back. Fantasy football is going to be there, so you guys stay locked in for that. Going to make a quick switch to the NBA. Been kind of quiet on that front. A couple trades here and there. Not going to do a segment on the Patrick Beverly to the Lakers, but I just think that's very funny with him being paired with Russ. That's hilarious.
That's hilarious, man.
That is very just the Laker, the Laker brand of how they're just always in the news is because of moves like that. They know how to move the needle. So it's gonna be interesting.
You gotta say your boy Taylor Horton Tucker, man, Utah Jazz facing the franchise, young player now.
Listen,
he's gonna get some shots, man. He's gonna get some shots out there.
Is gonna be getting shots. Him and what's the dude? Malik Beasley are probably gonna be fighting at the 2 guard position for shots. They're all gonna be shooting 30 shots a game. Yep. Did like that he did go to a team that he is going to be able to play because Utah right now, once the guy we're going to be talking about, Donovan, ends up being moved, he's probably going to get way more shots than what he probably bargained for with the Lakers. So speaking of Donovan Mitchell, it's to me all this stuff has just been posturing with how the trades are working and how each player, like Donovan at one point got targeted to the Lakers, and he's getting targeted to the Wizards, he's getting targeted to the Knicks, he's getting targeted to he's getting targeted to all these teams. Most people, I guess, with their wisdom, think he's going to go to the Knicks. It just depends on how much compensation is going to be done. So, wanted to ask the guys what they think about Donovan Mitchell and his fit with all these particular teams. And Zoo, I'm going to let you go ahead and take the first stab at this.
Man, I just see a big game of chicken right now, man, because both teams want to get a deal done. I feel like if you ask both teams, honestly, the Knicks and the Jazz, man, honestly, before the season, they want a deal to get done. But Danny Ainge always wants to get as much backspin value out of it. And the Knicks right now are like, we're going to give you some of those picks, but we're not going to give you all those unprotected picks. But I feel like it's best of both teams to move on already. Because right now, the Utah Jazz right now, I feel like after this trade, this massive domino, the Mike Conley domino, because they still got Mike Conley on the team. You don't need Mike Conley if you're trying to lose games. A veteran getting paid $30 million. So they're probably trying to ship him out. Bogdanovich down there, man. This guy's a playoff guy. This guy's a playoff guy that you can get 20 points in the playoffs. A little wing defender shooting threes. He might get traded too. I don't know. These are potential guys that veteran teams are going to try to get it done. So I feel like this one domino is holding all those trades up right now in the Utah Jazz, because after this domino is going to fall. All these other teams, that playoff teams, be trading like first-round picks or young players to get all these veteran guys. So I'm looking at this right now. I'm just like, Dan. My Lord, this dude wants every unprotected Knick pick, man, because I think that's what they're nervous about.
Trying to short New York.
I'm telling you, man, exactly. I'm telling the New York Knicks is when you have a New York unprotected pick. That's a little different. That's just a little different because they're used to being the lottery, man. And I could just imagine the one time they win the lottery, man, they don't even own their own pick.
Yeah, that would happen.
I just feel like in maybe 2027, one year they're past this era of basketball with Julius Randle, Donovan Mitchell, and Jalen Brunson. Like this is the team they're trying to build right now. That they're gonna tank and then they're gonna start sucking again because it's just the New York franchise. So I really get. Like, if I'm like the Lakers, I'm giving all my unprotected picks because if I got LeBron and AD, got to go to win now and try to win a championship. But with a team like the Knicks, my God, I get the hesitancy. But this dude's a 25-year-old young blood, man, and you got to get him.
Yep.
Like, I'm playing – I know the game of chicken you got to keep playing, but I feel like if you're in the Knicks, they're going to end up giving in, and they're going to trade all three of their unprotected picks, man. I feel like they're going to eventually do it and throw in whatever future picks and pick swaps that they're going to require. Because the number of players now, no more RJ Barrett now. Like, I feel like he's just nowhere going to get traded based on his contract situation, man. It's just going to be too hard to get a deal done with them. So they're going to include guys that are pretty much the Obi Toppins of the world. Like, these types of guys are nice little, cute little players, but, man, those players getting Donovan Mitchells for those guys, no brainer. So those picks, man, this game of chicken, man, you're going to be blanking soon, man, because you're going to want Donovan Mitchell on your team, man. Like,
and Danny knows that.
Quinn Grimes, like, I'm sorry. He's a nice young player, man. But I'm not going to withhold up Donovan Mitchell deal because of Quentin Grimes.
Yeah. I think that, well, the Knicks just desperately need to make a move. I mean, they like to your point, like, how long has this era truly been insufferable for Knicks fans? I mean, since probably, 2014, maybe? 2015.
Yeah, they won one little first-round victory a couple years back.
Yeah, that's true. They did have the one first-round victory. But yeah, Zoo, I'm looking at this trade, and I'm thinking of in Danny Ainge's shoes. He knows how desperate the Knicks are, right? He knows that they kind of want to create a big three with, RJ Barrett as the cousin fourth, I guess, whatever you want to call him. And I think he's just holding out. But Zoo, that was a great point. I didn't think about the value of unprotected picks coming out of New York because they just have the worst luck, I swear, in the NBA. Exact opposite of the Cavs, right? In
For real.
Past. So, if you're looking at that, I don't think, obviously you can't assume that one year is going to affect the next when it comes to the lottery. But at the same time, are you getting a team that is going to lock you in outside of the lottery every year for the next 5 to 6 years? I don't think so. Even if they get Donovan Mitchell, I don't think you can really say that. Who knows what Brunson's going to do now that he's gotten paid? I don't really want to know where Julius Randle's career is going unless he just has an unbelievable resurgence. Mm-hmm. So kind of looking at this team going forward, can Donovan Mitchell carry this franchise to the playoffs every year? Yeah, maybe into the play-in game. So this is what Danny Ainge is thinking, right? He knows the value that's there. I think that's why he's holding out, and the Knicks are going to end up pulling the trigger. But I also think that, if they decided to let him walk, maybe they could get him in free agency down the road, but the Jazz are trying to trade him. And if he really ends up re-signing wherever he is traded, if it's not the Knicks, then they're missing out big time because this is the biggest trade opportunity in a long time in the NBA.
Do you think maybe the trepidation with the Knicks because giving all the picks? Because I'll just play devil's advocate, right? If I'm the Knicks, you saw what they gave up for Carmelo, and who do you think will end up being a better player all time, Donovan or Carmelo?
Yeah, Carmelo technically is a top 75 guy.
I think Donovan's going to be a better player than Donovan. And there's no shade against Donovan, but it's like I think the Knicks, that's where they're probably hesitant. Like they know one for one they're dealing with Danny Ainge because So we all know he's the toughest negotiator. And two, I think part of their hesitancy is like, hey, we gave up all this for Carmelo, did that, got the star to New York. And it's like, what did it get us? And it's like, maybe if you could maybe not have to draft all the draft assets. Because like with the players, like I'm fine with the players. Like Barrett, got to go. Quick and Grimes got to go. I would maybe fight for Toppin because it's like, do you have to have Toppin? Like maybe, but if he's got to go, he's got to go. But it's like I would be more willing to want to bargain and give up Julius Randle because I just think he's a ball stopper and he does not fit. So I don't know what value. I feel like to me he had that one good year that was that All-Star year and that was before his contract, and then he got his contract and he's just kind of out of there, or out of it. So to me, if I feel like I could flip Julius somehow, I would do that.
Oh, Danny Ainge ain't tucking Julius.
Like a three-way trade where he goes somewhere else. Like that would have to be something. But I think that's probably one of the holdups. I just think they've been through, and I think a lot of those people who in the New York front office were there when they did the Carmelo trade. And I just feel like they don't. If they give up, I like Donovan, but it's like, do you want to give up all that? And then, like you say, you're gonna have a building block of Jalen and whatever. Now, if you tell me you can get Donovan, and then somehow if him and Brunson don't work out, you can flip Brunson and then another star that can come to New York, then it's like, okay, if you have enough foresight to know that's going to happen, then I would do it. But it's just like, yeah, it's a gamble. And I think that's what they're looking at. But I still would try to make a move for Donovan. You got to get a lot of
$100 million contracts on one team. I'll just put it that way.
It is. It's a lot of money tied into those two small guards.
And yeah, exactly. I was just thinking that backcourt, 6'1" and 6 foot.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's your backcourt. Like defensively, that's gonna be tough having two small fries.
They just want to sell tickets, Zoo. Come on, let's be honest.
Donovan will sell tickets, man.
Exactly.
He will sell tickets, especially if make the flat. He's a bucket. One thing,
and like I said, you get him there, and if him and Brunson don't work out, you're gonna have to try to flip Brunson. And Brunson has a lot of value in the league. I don't think he's gonna tank next year to where he's not a good player. You could maybe flip him for something and maybe open up some space for another player to come. But the thing with the Knicks is they haven't really gotten, stars to actually come and play. Like I guess you could say they had Durant, and then Kyrie said, no, we're going to the Nets. So they never really had a star come to them. So that's maybe the trepidation of why, if you do get Donovan, what else can you do around him? But that's where the GM get paid the big bucks. You got to figure out how to field a team around Donovan that's going to be better. And I think the Knicks front office doesn't have the track record of doing that. Like I said, they've had a lot of bad draft luck. Like they've had a lot of bad draft luck. Just really with their positioning where they've been at. Like if they maybe been a few slots higher, they could have been in the driver's seat for a lot of nice guys.
Zion,
or
Ja.
Yeah.
One
pick behind for
man.
Zion. One pick behind for Steph Curry. It's a lot of trolling, man. Just one pick in front of him, a transcendent guy.
If they had
the Kings. It's them and the Kings, man.
God, if they had Zion in New York, like that would have been just, I think maybe the linchpin that would have got probably would have got a star already there to New York. I think that would have been a major player. Like say for instance, say they would have had Zion, and you know how Bradley Beal, they all said he was going to take the money, but maybe Bradley Beal thinks twice. He's like, I want to go play with Zion. Maybe he thinks that just because Zion's there. Because I don't think stars want to go to New York and be the only star. They got to have a co-star. You can't be the only star in New York unless you're like,
you get all the pressure.
Yeah, a lot. And like you say, the Knicks are the team. Like I know the Nets doing it. They are the team in New York. Like the Nets having fun doing it. But you saw what happened when the Nets got swept in the first round. They were talked about, because Kevin Durant was on the team. But if that would have been that Kevin Durant on the Knicks and he got swept, they would probably still be talking about it today in football season. They probably would still be talking about it today. So it's like, it's just levels to it when it comes to, same thing, Giants, Jets, whatever. It's just those certain teams have the pedigree and they're going to have the focus. So it's going to be interesting. If you ask me, I think that's where he's going to end up. I don't think there's any other team that's going to trade for him. I don't think the Wizards, no, I don't think Miami's going to be able to do it. There's no other team I could see, and watch me say that and he ends up somewhere else. But, I just don't see it. I think it's Knicks or bust. Which I think Danny wants to make the deal happen, and I think the Knicks want to make the deal happen. Like Zeus said, they're just doing a bunch of posturing right now.
And
they're just trying to make it
negotiating, man. The name of the game, man. You just don't know if you're the first trade and make a deal immediately. You got to take it patient. You got to take. Both teams are doing it by the book right now, but the deadline is pretty much they want to get before like training camp happens.
Exactly.
And when that starts happening, that's when you're like, okay,
they're pushing.
Pressure is on right now because you don't want this talk lingering. Imagine because because what the Jazz are trying to do, they're trying to tank games. They're trying to tank. And Donovan Mitchell, one thing he's gonna do, he's gonna help you win regular season games.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that is their pressure. The Knicks, I feel like might have a little edge just because of that. Because what the Utah Jazz was like 5-10 games in a row or something like crazy. They just start off strong. They're trying to lose games. So man, Donovan Mitchell, man, ship him off, man, for Quentin Grimes. He'll lose a lot more games, man. You'll lose a lot more games if you get that trade done. So
and he's going to leave eventually, right? He's going to leave Utah, so you got
3 years left on his contract. Yeah, just leaning towards it. New head coach, shipped out their defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert. Like when that trade happened, you knew, they're already thinking about that. Their full rebuild. Yeah. So Donovan Mitchell, man.
We're gonna see for sure. I mean, I have a inclination that he's probably going to end up with the Knicks. I just don't know when. Maybe it's by the trade deadline. Who knows? But like you say, if you take a risk, because if Utah starts off fast, then it might not be a situation where you can get him. Yeah, well, it could be him and Horton Tucker in the backcourt getting buckets. Listen, we'll talk about. Listen, and I don't know. Donovan could probably maybe masquerade as a point guard, but just if you want to talk about wingspans in the backcourt, like you got 6'4", 7 foot, and 6'3", 6'10" wingspans in the backcourt. Like they're short. Like THC, I think about 6'4", but like, and Donovan, I guess you say 6'2", 6'3". Like that wingspan, though, in that backcourt. If they ever wanted to play defense, that could be a nasty backcourt just defensively. But we probably won't see
Rudy
THC
anymore, though.
Yeah, they ain't got the the stifle.
They don't even have a starting center.
No, they don't.
No, didn't they get the center from Minnesota in that trade? The first round pick? I can't remember. From Auburn.
The first round pick that was drafted this year, but
that's crazy that he might be the starter.
Yeah,
but
they're just waiting for the French kid.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. Like a lot of other teams. But like you say, NBA gave us a little small headline right there.
Game over.
Like you say, the Lakers are going to continue to make waves because they're the brand that does it. And plus, too, you just can't escape it because every media outlet talks about them all the time. So we're going to constantly hear probably stuff about that. But like I said, it is the NFL right here, right now. Got to make sure we're getting out content for that. So make sure you guys tune in to bullheaded_pod on Instagram. TikTok has been booming with followers and content. I do a little bit differently than the reels I do on Instagram. So make sure you follow that at bullheaded864. YouTube, Quantro Knows, getting shorts up there. This content that you see right here will be up there, live content. And for me, Zoo, and P. Bush,